You guys are taking this way too seriously. You see, in order to feed the YouTube algorithm, I'm supposed to come here today and talk to you about the latest SOCOM contract gun, all while wearing a plate carrier and Crye precision pants and a nods helmet in the middle of the daytime on a flat range with no enemy combatants and no one on the other end of your comms. It's just all so serious. Well, I'm here to remind you that guns are supposed to also be fun. They are functional pieces of art that can serve as a window into the past. Take Indiana Jones. Now, he was an adventurer. Now, granted, the franchise was set in a different era, but he'd never be found carrying some boring AR-15. Plate carriers? Nods? He had a leather jacket, a cowboy hat, and some torch he made from a bone of some animal he'd find in a cave. Life is short. Don't be a boring AR-15 guy. Live a life of adventure. But to do adventurer things, you need an adventurer's gun. And I think I've got just the thing for you. When was the last time you guys thought about the Ruger Mini 14? Well, I think about it often because it, along with the AC556K, to be very specific, were childhood action movie gun wish list projects for me, right? I grew up wanting these guns, and that's what we're gonna be talking about today. Specifically, we're gonna be looking at the use of the Mini 14 and its this particular one sibling, the AC556 and AC556K. We're gonna be looking at their use through TV and cinema. We are also gonna look at a couple of modern interpretations of the Mini 14 and the Mini 30, worked up by our friends down at MK3 Firearms in Las Vegas. But before we do that, appreciate the folks over at Silencer Shop. They're sponsoring the video today. First thing I would just tell you guys, right? So they, well, you can figure it out by the name, Silencer Shop, right? So first thing I would just tell you, there's probably a lot more of you that can own suppressors or silencers than are aware of. I would definitely say just check your state's rules and regs on that. Silencer Shop is the easiest way to go about doing that. They've got their kiosk system, which, well, I'll spare you the full lecture, but they really streamline the process in terms of doing fingerprints, submitting your application. It's a really smooth process. I would also note that we are seeing the Form 4 that you put in, right, the thing that you need the approval for to actually go pick up your suppressor, are coming back very, very quickly right now. So in some cases, hours, right? That is not a guarantee that yours is gonna come back in hours, just to say that, hey, there's a lot of people that are getting their suppressors back in days and weeks at the longest right now, right? So I would definitely check that out. Super quick approval times. Today we'll talk a little bit about the suppressor briefly later on in the video, but this is a B&T SRBS. Silencer Shop does carry these in a whole host of different cans. So check them out, appreciate that. Let's keep on moving. The Mini 14 has been pretty heavily used throughout TV and cinema, to include the use in The Professional. We've got The Boondock Saints, we got Escape from LA, we've got The Walking Dead, all of which you will see engraved here on this lovely custom stock that we will talk about in just a bit.
Hey, bud.
Yeah.
But people are wondering, you even gonna acknowledge it? Where are we?
Yeah. So we built a studio. You guys will start seeing this fairly soon. We tried to make it not suck. That was the main objective. I've got to give a special shout out. So as you guys know, the 1911 Syndicate's a real estate company, or if you don't know, I guess that you just heard that for the first time. Fortunately, we've got friends who are contractors. So one of my clients is a company called Blue Spruce Renovation, and they were like, hey, we should really do like a studio, if you will. And I was like, I like that idea. And if you put enough degenerates in the same room, this is ultimately what you come up with, just a shrine to firearms. So you guys will see this. We are also going to kind of offer this as like a niche part of the real estate business. So if you guys like just kind of see this and eventually you go, you know what, I think I might like to build something like that, let us know. Reach out to the 1911 Syndicate. You can do it on the website or whatever. And, we can help you guys with the design, or if you're in Utah, we can actually help you with the construction and everything of it. We're just kind of testing the waters. We're like, this was a really fun project for us. So if we can help do it for other people, that'd be badass. So anyway, thanks to my friends over at Blue Spruce Renovation. You done good. You done good, kid. The Mini 14, the first big reference, and perhaps I would say, if I were going to take a poll of the audience, go, what is the thing that you most associate with the Mini 14? I feel like it's bound to be the A-Team. So let's talk a little bit about the A-Team. First off, to just give one more disclaimer, I heavily lean on the Internet Firearms database for these videos. They have zero affiliation with us whatsoever. They don't know that we're doing this, but it's like, it's an incredible research resource for firearms in movies. It is basically consumes all of my free time. On the A-Team, there's two A-Teams, right? There's the TV show, and then there's the 2010 feature film, which I know I've seen, and I don't remember any of it, which probably tells me it won't that good, okay? Even the 2.5-minute trailer that I watched heading into the video, I was like, I think I'm good. I don't think I need to watch that. So the TV show, however, ran for 5 seasons, and the Mini 14 made its first appearance in season 2. Now, the adoption of the Mini 14 as the primary rifle for the A-Team was less, to my understanding, less about them actually wanting to like hardcore, let's use the Mini 14, like let's rep this as the gun of the A-Team, and it was more of a practical budgetary solution, really. So basically swapping out guns for the A-Team, right, which had multiple characters, I believe it was four of them in the group. Instead of swapping out guns all the time, they were like, can we just have a gun that like we can just buy, we can like leave in containers on set, and we can just use that? Enter the Mini 14. That's what it was. The show basically permanently bought some guns and they left it on set, if you will. I'm sure they were secured. Let's not make it a big deal. They were the factory Mini 14 with the side folding stock in stainless. Now, I did black on mine. They have this in stainless and black. Ruger sells factory, with stainless and black. I did black because of another movie that we'll talk about a little bit later that was like, yeah, we need to get as close as we can to that. But the A-Team one was stainless, and it did have the side folding stock that Ruger used to make. These do actually, some of the Rugers do now actually come with side folders. I think they come with the Samson manufacturing ones that we'll talk about a little bit later. The guns on the show were semi-auto. The show was edited in a way to make it look like the guns were actually an AC556, which would be the full auto bigger brother to the Mini 14. But if you actually look closely, they're just Mini 14s, because you can tell on the AC556 because the selector to go from semi to full auto is on the back of the, basically it's a little button on the back of the receiver here, and those on the show did not have it. So I think it was just some fancy editing to make it look like they had full autos. But like I said, they were just the semi-auto guns. And you can also tell that by looking at the barrel on the A-Team guns, because they were not the government barrel that has the bayonet lug. It's just the standard barrel. But the Mini is used from season 2 all the way through season 5. Very prominent use of the guns. In the movie, again, like I mentioned, I've seen the movie. I don't remember a damn thing from it, so I'm pretty sure that it was very not good. But Colonel Hannibal Smith, played by Liam Neeson, does use the Mini 14 in one scene It's brief. I couldn't even find any reference footage of it, so we'll probably just show you a photo here. But as referenced in the opening, the Mini 14 is, in my eyes, a gun for the adventurer, right? Think Indiana Jones. And while Indiana Jones took place in a different era, so of course he wouldn't have had the Mini 14, there is another great adventure movie that did use the Mini 14. That movie would be, let's see how many of you remember this, Romancing the Stone. Come on, some of you guys gotta remember Romancing the Stone. It's such a great movie. I watched it leading into the video here and I was like, man, I forgot just what a cool classic movie this is. Falls into the category of they don't make them like that anymore. Killer cast, right? Released in 1984. We've got Michael Douglas, Kathleen Turner, Danny DeVito, who has since gone on to big success over at Jersey Mike's. Big success. But we've got adventure, comedy, romance. It's got the full deal. Plot is relatively straightforward. We've got Kathleen Turner. She's playing Joan Wilder. She's a New York City novelist, and she's got to go to Colombia to rescue her sister, who's been kidnapped by some bad dudes for some reason that doesn't even particularly matter. All that really matters is it's a good enough excuse for her to have to go to Colombia. So we got a New York City broad. She's in New York City and she's having to fight her way through the jungle. And then Michael Douglas comes in and he's a badass and he's going to help get her to safety and find the treasure and capture her sister. That's the basic plot of the movie. The finale is where the Ruger comes into play. So we got Michael Douglas. He's got something up his pants here. Croc comes in. Uh-oh. So you'll notice full auto. So this is not the Mini 14. This is the AC 556. And one of the cool things you'll see is a pattern throughout some of the movies with the AC 556. You'll see this star flash pattern that comes out of the flash hider that they have on these, or brake or whatever it was. So basically all of the Colombian troops had the AC 556 in the scene. Michael Douglas, of course, he's got one. Stainless finish, right, with the side folding stock. I think he has the stock folded through most of the scene. You would think you'd figure that out, but what do I know? It's got that government barrel, the bayonet lug, just looking so cool. So at this point, now the Croc has the stone. The Croc has become the main threat to the story right now. Amongst the lessons we can learn here, sights are very overrated. If you have a rifle with the folding stock, probably just leave the stock folded and just hip fire this bad boy. Run is the answer here. Like, this isn't a stunt, run. The guy's got one arm, he's bleeding out. Meanwhile, our man's still wrestling with a Croc. Like, my God, dude. It is the classic dilemma, though. I don't know if you guys have ever been there. Do you wrestle the Croc? Do you save the girl? I'm sure you guys debate this on a weekly basis. There it is. Yeah. Oh no. Which shouldn't have happened, because the gun does have last round hold open, so I don't know why you got to click. Might have been that just reliability issue there potentially. So that's how it plays out, right? Good use of the AC 556, which really, I mean, is the big brother. It is the cool factor to the Mini 14. So my grail gun, I have a few, but one of my grail guns is the Ruger AC 556K, okay? And that is basically the short barrel full auto variant of the Mini 14. That is effectively what we were going for on this. Basically a modernized cool guy version, even though the AC 556K is a cool guy gun. I've never actually even seen one in person, but that's kind of the vibe we were going for with this, is like a kitted out version of the K. So this started off in life as really just a basic Mini 14. I don't remember specifically what model it was, because we knew we were basically gonna be chopping it up and turning it into something else. So I was like, hey, any Mini 14 will do. So it basically started off as a stock Mini 14, and then it went down to MK3 Firearms down in Las Vegas, where it began its transformation into what you see here. I can't wait to see the comments, because I feel like some of you guys are gonna be like, fuck you, bro, how dare you? You know, bring a Mini 14 to this channel, and then some of you are gonna be like, that's the coolest thing I've ever seen. It's gonna be a fun comment section, so get in there. So what did MK3 do to the gun? First thing they did was they chopped the barrel. So they chopped the barrel down to, I think it's hovering about 11 inches, 10, 11, somewhere in that range. It is a short barrel 5.56 gun. Still, you know, it's not like 7 inches where it's completely useless, but like it is a short barrel gun. They tuned the gun for the suppressor. So this whole system has been tuned. Is that to say that it's not a tad bit gassy? It's a fairly gassy system, but that's just the nature of the beast on this. The can that we've got is a B&T SRBS 5.56 compact, okay? So we actually reviewed a similar can to this on the channel not that long ago. But hey, just in the event you guys are interested in cans like this, I would check out Silencer Shop. I do know that they carry these or several variants of these, so you can check that out. But it's a B&T can and a tuned system. From there, it has a bunch of components from Samson Manufacturing, okay? First would be the stock. They call this stock the A-TM stock. A-Team, that's the A-Team stock, everyone. So I'll show you guys how this thing works. It's actually a really cool, so actually very much like the stock system. So basically there's a little hook right here. You guys may or may not be able to see that, but basically there's a little hook there where this little butt pad basically clips into. So all you do is you unfold that, and then the stock just finds its way home, right? To take it back, you just push the little button there, and then that hooks back in. The stock is a very nice design. I like it very much. This also has their Hannibal rail, so all of their component names are A-Team related. So Hannibal, of course, a character from the A-Team, so this is the Hannibal rail. So the Hannibal rail, really nice design actually, enables you to mount several different optics. So it comes basically set up to do a few different micro footprints, RMR, and I think a couple others. I wanted to do an acro, so they actually have a plate that you can order that goes on the rail that then you can attach an acro to. This is not per se an acro. This is the Lead and Steel Pandora. This is their acro footprint enclosed emitter dot. I like it. I've got a couple of them. This is not meant to be a video about the dot, other than to say I haven't had an issue with one, much in the same with my rifle outfit from them. It's like, they've been solid, you know, so take that for what it's worth. The rail also lets you throw some cool guy stuff on. I'm dying to see someone set up a Mini 14 with like an emitter or something like that. So if someone can please put like an NGAL or something on a Mini 14, that would just make my day. I do not have it set up that way. I've just got a mod light on here with a little clicky cap because I did think that that would be kind of neat, and neat is exactly what it is. The star of the show in many ways would be the stock itself. So I guess we should clarify. The stock is basically a combination of this, which you would associate with being the stock, as well as the actual wood component here. So when you break all this down, the stock and the wood are all one piece. So the wood is engraved with pop culture references that the Mini 14 has been in, right? So if we kind of work our way down the list as I'm working upside down here, we've got the A-Team, we got Mr. T back here, right? Just super cool. Then we got Broken Arrow, we got some more stuff from A-Team. It is the movie A-Team, not the TV show. So hey, the TV show probably cooler, but we got the movie one on there. We've got The Walking Dead, we've got Escape from LA, we've got Boondock Saints, we got The Professional, and looking upside down, I can't quite place this one. I think it's A-Team, but I can't quite tell on that. So this was done, again, Mark III basically put the whole thing together, but they've got a laser engraver they work with in Las Vegas. They are named LV Laser Engraving, so they did the stock. Really cool. I mean, this was one of the things. We're like, hey, this is an episode about a movie sort of oriented gun that I always liked, and so that's why we did that. Mark III, being the sons of bitches they are, when they were about ready to send the gun, they're like, hey, we put a little Easter egg on there for you. So you'll notice the ticket to hell on the back of my gun, with 666 on both sides. I do not see it showing as a return ticket. I am led to believe this might be a one-way ticket. You know, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it, but I'm sure people that come look at the gun are gonna be like, that's probably the coolest part of the gun right there. So what's it like to shoot? Well, shooting it is an interesting experience. So the first thing that is pretty cool about it, so for the AR folks out there, totally different manual of arms, so you have to get used to that a little bit. One of the nice things about it is the fact that you can just freaking shoot it, you know what I'm saying? So that is totally an option. The safety's down here for those of you that don't know. Interesting design. But of course you deploy the stock. So what's the bad boy like to shoot? So we can't find any examples of anyone having suppressed Mini 14s. I am sure someone has done it. You will tell me that in the comments. I'm sure someone's done it. We couldn't really find any examples of it. So this is a little bit of a one-off. We're playing in experimental territory here. To say that it's a tad gassy would probably be accurate. The gun is tuned as well as you can tune it for a can. And it's still a fairly gassy experience. Look guys, today's video is about a gun that I sort of have an odd affinity towards with childhood action movies and all that kind of stuff. I'm not gonna come here and tell you that if the apocalypse pops off that a Mini 14 is gonna be what I ride off into the sunset with. Is this a good time at the range? Sure. Are there things that could, you know, be improved upon? Sure. The mags could definitely be better. The gun is fast, I will give you that. So the gun is actually quite fast to stay on target. You can actually run the shit out of the gun. The mags on the 223 gun, I would recommend loading 223 into those mags if you ever get one of those. I am fairly confident that because the Mini 14 was originally designed in 223 and now it is in 5.56, I'm semi-confident that the mags never got updated for 5.56, so they actually want to take 223 and putting 5.56 in the 223 mag is kind of problematic. I'm not saying that's the gospel. I'm saying I've inquired. I'm not sure if that's entirely true, but I do believe it to be true. So, the gun's fun to shoot, right? Again, is this the thing you want to deploy with to Afghanistan? Probably not. Is it a good time and kind of a hoot to bring out to the range and let people shoot your movie gun? Yeah, it's pretty fun. So where exactly did my love for the Mini 14, or to be more specific, my love for the AC 5.56K come from? And that would be, look, if we were gonna rank the movies on this list, we're entering my #1 pick. This is the movie for me. That movie would be Broken Arrow. And for some of you at home, you just went, yeah, you got it, right? Broken Arrow is like gun movie, like Grail status. It features two of my all-time favorite, like cool guy impractical guns, one being the AC 5.56K, and then the other one being the Beretta 93R. Both of those prominently featured in the film, and it's just amazing. It is also, I will note, the only notable use of the AC 5.56K that I can find. Like, I don't recall if I even found another film that that gun had been in, and yet it's prominently in Broken Arrow. Plot of Broken Arrow, classic scenario, right? You got two stealth fighter pilots, and one of them decides he's tired of being a stealth fighter pilot and he wants to hold the country ransom. So, hey, we're gonna steal the nuke. And my partner, screw that guy, I'm not bringing him in on the deal, right? So they get in a fight, and John Travolta, right, steals a nuke, and then Christian Slater's got to track him down. So we got this cat and mouse game going. They're going back and forth. Eventually, it leads us to a mine, right? Christian Slater's decided that the answer would be if we can put the nuke underground and detonate it, problem solved, right? We've buried the nukes, no one got hurt. So at this point in the movie, we are now arriving to the mine. All right, we got Travolta rolling up. Look at that thing. He's got the stock folded, looking all cool. Christian Slater's with a park ranger. She's effectively useless through most of the movie, but had to have a female in there, so she's in it. Also a Beretta M12 in this scene. I mean, like, this scene is like for real Grail status of the guns in this. Broken Arrow will no doubt be talked about much in this series. So watch this. When Deakins racks the bolt on the AC 5.56K, it's one of those great mechanical gun movie moments. This is the shit I remember from childhood. I can't tell you anything else, but I remember this shit. Oh! Wanted the gun ever since that moment. Don't shoot the thermonuclear weapon. An obvious statement, but yes. This is John Travolta, like, peak in his bad guy phase. Sig 226 coming out. So watch the flash pattern from the AC 5.56. That's not it, that's the M12. Just strokes a nuke like it's a naked lady's behind. This is also in Howie Long's acting phase. I don't know if anyone remembers that. Firestorm?
Come on.
Any fans of Firestorm out there? There we go. Look at that flash pattern. This is so peak John Woo. Like, I mean, this is John Woo, like, doing John Woo right here. So Deacon's got the gun. You'll still notice here, stock folded, never even bothered deploying the stock. So, you know, these shots are so well done because the gun is well seen, but you have to kind of know what this thing is. So part of what makes the AC556K so cool is that it's not that common when you're watching, you know, fairly modern action movies and you see a gun and you're like, what is that? You know, like that's something I haven't really seen before. And all these shots in here as he's holding it out like that, you're just like, that's not something you see. It's so tiny. Look at it. I mean, as cool as it is having the can on it, it's like, God, without the can, it's so cool. I mean, this is properly what we wanted to clone here. With the black stock and the wood, I mean, like, this is the inspiration for the gun right here. That's why Broken Arrow is engraved into the wood for this. Okay, so Broken Arrow is peak John Woo 1990s, and ironically, so is the next movie. That movie would be Face Off. Again, I mean, I wish I could be in your guys' seat just going through the memories as we're bringing up these movies, because if you can't get on board with Face Off, we can't talk. Okay, we can't talk anymore. Face Off is in the list of all-time action movie greats. It's also one of the other few movies to feature the AC556. All of the movies thus far, actually, are AC556. No actual Mini 14s at this stage of the game. So here's what's crazy, guys. Broken Arrow came out in 1996, a John Woo film. Then in 1997, a year later, John Woo follows up Broken Arrow with Face Off. That's crazy. That is a 1-2 punch combo if I've ever heard one. So plot of the movie. Boy, how the hell do you describe the plot of Face Off? Castor Troy, played by Nick Cage, sometimes. Castor Troy, Nick Cage, bad guy, terrorist. Has unfortunately killed Sean Archer, aka John Travolta's son, and so now Archer is on the hunt ever since then to kill Castor Troy. Castor's a terrorist. He's placed a bomb in downtown Los Angeles, and Sean Archer, working for the FBI, has got to basically penetrate, that's a bad word, but he has to infiltrate, there we go, that'd probably be a better way to put that, infiltrate the Castor Troy gang to figure out where this bomb is. The problem is Castor is actually in a coma, so the only way that we can do this is we're going to have to basically do a body transformation. We're going to have to borrow his face and his voice. Basically, John Travolta is going to have to become Nick Cage and actually go to prison to learn from his brother where this bomb is. It's a little complicated. For me to try to further explain it would make this segment 20 minutes, and we ain't got time for that. But where the AC556 comes in is actually pretty period correct, because it's used by correctional officers, right? So this is in the prison here. We'll go ahead and start rolling the clip. So this is Duboff. It's a low life, because you got to keep in mind, the guy that's in prison right now technically is an FBI agent that arrested this guy. So they're going to team up. They're going to bust out of the joint at this point. By the way, the jail's in like the middle of the ocean. AC556 is going to be popping up all over the place here. There it is. Again, you'll notice the signature flash pattern with these. You don't know what that is? It's the Wilhelm scream. Very famous cinematic thing. It's been used for God knows how long. Properly in the era of, you can only do so much with special effects is 97. So basically everything sent it. Basically everything is done practically. Like all of this is happening. Like that's how you had to do action movies then. That's why the degree to which they don't make them like this anymore, because they don't have to. AC556 coming through the door. This whole scene is AC 556 on AC 556 violence. It's just Rugers on Rugers everywhere. And there we go. That's the prison scene of Face Off. So really awesome scene. Maybe even the worst actual action scene in the movie, which is saying something because that's a pretty badass scene and it doesn't even end here. But it's like, this is pretty correct. The AC 556 was, you know, semi, at least heavily used inside of law enforcement and corrections. And that's what was happening here. Ironically, also the case in the next movie. So we've gone from Broken Arrow in 1996, Face Off in 1997. What's next? 1998, kids. And you know what 1998 brought? Hard Rain. I can't tell if in the comments if some of you guys are like, fuck this guy, man, this is a horrible movie. It is. Look, we all have a little bit of leeway to like a few bad movies. Hard Rain is a bad movie that I very much enjoy. Production-wise, it's fantastic, but I mean, it's tough to argue it's a good movie, but it's like, it is a good action movie, and it is a good movie for the Ruger Mini 14. So the plot of the movie, reasonably simple. I mean, we've all been there, right? Actually, hell, I just got a text from some folks in Texas. They're getting hit by a hurricane. So that's basically what happens in Hard Rain. You've got two armored truck drivers, one of which Christian Slater, repeat from Broken Arrow, right? So you got two armored truck drivers. They're picking up all the, you know, the cash and all this kind of stuff because a big, massive flood is hitting this town in like Louisiana or something like that. But hey, because the armored truck's picking up all this cash, some criminals decided, well, let's knock over that truck, right? So they basically get ambushed, right? Then they got to go on the run. They're trying to hide the cash from the people that are trying to take it while defending themselves. Well, the cops hear about this, and then the cops are kind of like, cop salary ain't that great down here, and we would probably like to steal that money ourselves. But the cops, they got some Mini 14s, and that's where it comes in. Okay, so at this point, we've got Christian Slater. We got bad cops potentially about to show up, and then we got the robbers, right? Basically all converging on a tombstone here to try to find the cash. Let's see how it pans out. Some bad cops with some Mini 14s show up. That's a bad day. So one of the things that Hard Rain did well, there's a visceral nature to the gunfire in it. Much in the way that Heat had, where it's like, it's pretty raw. Randy Quaid, as a bad guy, not great. I don't think anyone was going, Randy Quaid, that's the villain the world needed. I just want him to be in Family Vacation. I'm all set. Okay, Mini 14 show back up in the finale. Takes place in a church. How do you get into a church that's flooded? Easy. Drive a boat through the stained glass window. Just Mini 14s everywhere. They look like AC 556Ks, but they never fire full auto, so they gotta be minis. But they got that government barrel. Anyway, that is Hard Rain. If you guys haven't seen it, you should watch it. Is it a bad movie? Yes. Do I think you will thank me after and say, hey, look, bro, it's a bad movie, but I did like it? I do think you will say that. Guys, here's the deal. Science has proven that you become more of a man when you order from Big Tex Ordnance, and that would be something I would recommend. For the female viewers, you become even more woman when you order from Big Tex. It just enhances whichever side of the fence you're on. You just become a better version of that when you order from Big Tex. They sell tons of stuff that we use. I mean, shoot, if I look around here, there's a lot of stuff in here that they have. You can go there. They ship your order same day. If your order is placed before, I believe it's 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, aka Texas time. They send you a copy of the Constitution, some candy in your order. The code that you guys can plug in to save 10% off the site is 1911 SYN, SYN, as in Syndicate, 1911 SYN. That'll save you guys 10% off. Definitely check them out. They're great folks. They should be arriving in Utah tomorrow, but they're also getting hit by a hurricane. So Big Tex, Godspeed. Hope you guys make it. If we don't, then hey, it's been real. 1911 Syndicate also, like I said, will help you with your guys' real estate needs. If you guys ever want to build a gun room and do cool shit, we're the kind of company that embraces doing cool shit. So go to 1911syndicate.com, check that out. Let's talk about a Mini 30 now. Okay, so the Mini 14 was introduced in 1973. The Mini 30 was introduced in 1987, quite a bit later. These are chambered in 7.62 by 39. And you will notice, looking at the magazines, it looks like it's an AK mag. It's not an AK mag. It is a Ruger mag. Don't try to shoot AK mags with this, and vice versa. But the point is to say, hey, if you're looking for if you're like, man, I love the idea, 7.62 by 39 or an AK, I just don't actually want an AK. Hey, look, this could be a viable alternative. Now, this is Mark III's down in Vegas, right? They did my Mini 14, and then this is their personal Mini 30. So I guess I will start by highlighting, they don't make the gun. They just did a bunch of cool work to the guns in terms of the stocks and, you know, chopping them and tuning them for the cans and laser engraving and all that kind of stuff. So if there's an issue with the gun, which sadly there is in this case, that's really not a Mark III problem because they're not the manufacturer of the gun. The problem in this particular case is we basically had a catastrophic malfunction today. There's a round completely lodged in the barrel. It's going to have to get punched out by something pretty significant. I don't have that degree of tools out here. This is not something I can mortar out or even take a screwdriver or anything to wedge it out today. She's in there pretty good, everyone. Guys, we'll be back to the desert momentarily. So on the way back to the studio here, I did have a quick conversation with Mark III about the round that is lodged in the Mini 30, and they just said, yeah, bummer, we didn't want to open up the chamber and polish that until we knew if that was potentially going to be an issue for the gun. So it turns out it is, and they said, look, there's no problem. That's an easy fix on their end. Obviously, it's not something to do on my end. That's a gunsmithing thing. But just know, hey, look, that might be a reality for the Mini 30. It also could be related to steel case. A little bit tough to know. That will be fixed. I wanted to do this little disclaimer from the future just so that you guys know, like, hey, Mark III was like, got it, understood. Yeah, that's an easy fix. We'll get that cleaned up. So anyway, if you do send a gun off to them, they'll make sure that that's all good and dialed in and polished up. So that's unfortunate. Again, that's really not a Mark III issue. I don't even know if this is a live round or not. So this will be a fun car ride, a thrilling car ride home really at the end of the day, because who knows what could happen at any given moment. But I will tell you regardless the things that they did to this gun. Still a cool gun, just not a particularly functional gun at the moment. So we both have similar design philosophies. We wanted to take an old school gun, again, from the 70s, which is part of where these issues come from. It's just not a particularly modern gun. We want to take an old gun and do sort of these tribute pieces where we would make them modern and cool and all this kind of stuff. And while we have different approaches, we have, you know, a similar philosophy. So they chopped the barrel down to 10 inches, tuned the gun for the Q. This is the Trash Panda that's on the end of this. No issues with that. So that's where we started. 7.62 by 39, despite having caused an issue here, is a great round suppressed. It's a very poor man's 300 blackout kind of vibe. So it is a really cool gun, or sorry, round. The coolest thing happening on this is the vintage stock. So the stock is I'm not an authority on this, so it's a vintage Federal Ordnance stock. So it's an underfolder. When it's folded up, that's about the coolest looking thing ever. And then basically it just unfolds, and then sort of the little butt pad kind of finds its way home as it unfolds. It's really cool. Like, it's really, really cool. So I don't know how hard these are to find. I'm led to believe these are probably very hard to find. But like I said, this is a vintage thing. That's why I haven't wanted to be too rough on the gun and really try to mortar that round out or anything. Because I'm like, look, it's not my gun. There's some vintage components on this. And it's just like, I'm not trying to go damage someone's new gun, but with some old school stuff that's going to be really tough to replace. Mark III posted a brief video on this without saying what it was for, and they had a lot of questions about, hey, what is going on with this optic mount for the Trijicon MRO? So this is a custom thing that they did. If you were going to send a Mini 14 or a Mini 30 to them, They might be able to do that. I don't think it's going to necessarily be cheap because this was like some custom thing that they had to rig up to take a red dot on this. So, you know, just understand like, hey, you know, that was a process to be able to get the red dot on that gun. What's it like to shoot? It shoots very much like the Mini 14. It's like in a vintage way, a fun thing to shoot. Still pretty gassy. Definitely, hey, if you're indoors and a lefty, well, have a good time with that there, fellas. But it's a good time. I wish I had more rounds on it, but like we said, a little bit of a flub that happened today. But that said, we're now on our final, and I believe fairly unexpected movie choice. Okay, for our final movie, we have a lesser seen film. I'm gonna guess if we polled the audience here, this would probably be the one that more of you are like, haven't seen that, but interested. In terms of a gun or a movie for the Mini 14, it is almost impossible to argue that like, yeah, this is the Mini 14 movie. And that would be The American starring George Clooney. Fairly recent film, I think going back to maybe 2010-ish. But here's why I have it at the last spot, because it's very uncommon that a gun in a movie has any sort of a role, right? At best, it becomes like an accessory of a character, right? Think the 92 for, you know, Riggs and John McClane. You go, it's not like the 92 has a role, but it's like definitely an important part of that character. Well, the Mini 14 in the American is actually a central figure. Like it is an important part of the movie. So the plot, reasonably straightforward. We've got Jack, played by George Clooney. He's basically an assassin. He has a job go south, and so he flees to the Italian countryside, and he calls up his boss, whoever the assassin's boss is. I don't know how that whole thing works. Chime in the comments if you're an assassin, and let me know. I don't know. Let me know how your boss employment. I don't know. Are you 1099 W2? Like I don't know how any of this shit works. But anyway, calls his boss, and he's like, "Hey, boss, I'm gonna do my last job, right?" And he's in the Italian countryside. So basically he gets contracted by a woman named Celine. And she's like, hey, I don't think she says it this way, but she's basically like, hey, look, I got someone to kill, but I need you to build the gun that I'm going to kill this person with. And they lay out at this meet and greet, basically the terms of the gun. It is simultaneously kind of a great scene and kind of goofy at the same time.
I'm Edward.
Matilda.
It's not his name. Or Matilda, whatever. Celine, Matilda, same shit.
Range.
150 to 175 meters.
Time.
Firing rate. What does that mean?
Capacity.
Large.
Large magazine capacity. 5.56? Huh?
The weapon must be.
So that's the meet and greet. So you go, that's a pretty good scene. Like it seems like someone with some knowledge on, like they actually had a real technical advisor on this, right? Talking about, okay, I want a silencer. Well, I can only get you a suppressor. It's not going to make you silent, but it's going to make you invisible. Little, you know, it's not how it works, but I get what you're going for. Totally get what you're going for on that. But you're like, everything that's happening here is pretty good. But basically, Jack now has his thing. He needs to build a 5.56 gun that can break down, fit into some sort of a briefcase so that it can be transported. It needs to be suppressed. Needs to have large magazine capacity. What do we need? We need a Mini 14. So now we get to the phase of the movie where Jack's going to build the gun. And again, it's well executed. So he basically brings things in different components, right? So he's got his barrel here. You can see the wood, the side folding stock there. Super cool. Now he begins the painful process of putting a Mini 14 together or disassembling it for cleaning. Ask me how I know. Not a good time. We never really established how he got all of this. Because I mean, essentially he's just bought all the components for a firearm. Never quite figured out how he pulled that off in Italy, but good on him. Side folder. Trigger group goes in. I mean, like, this is properly done with the 20 rounder. Pretty well done. We still got to suppress the thing though. So he goes to a body shop.
Padre Benedetto. Americano. I'm taking photographs in the mountains.
Again, what's notable about this, I get it. We as gun guys can nitpick this whole thing apart, but you go, they actually really put some thought into this. And this is a movie that prominently features the gun as like a plot point. So what's he doing? He's looking for something that's straight, that can be used as a tube for a suppressor. So he assembles the parts. So now he's assembled the parts. Now he actually has to make a suppressor out of all the car parts that he's acquired. Now, I can only assume at this point what he's trying to do is make a baffle, right? Times it with the church bell. Clever. It's clever stuff. So now he's setting up the threads. And again, this is a substantial portion of this movie. Building a freaking gun. Come on, you can't be a gun guy and not think this is cool. He's built all the baffles, right? Now he's obviously got to get the tube over it. And when I talked to Mark III about doing this video, I'm like, what do you guys think about doing Mini 14s? And they were like, oh, the American. I mean, it was their first movie. For me, my first one's Broken Arrow. This was their like, this is the movie for Mini 14s. It's a great movie. I won't spoil the ending because I think based on these little clips, there might be some of you that actually tune in and watch the movie. But I would say despite the little flubs there, I give them a pass. It's a great movie and it is probably the ultimate use of a Mini 14 inside of cinema. So guys, at the end of the day here, my message and my premise for the video was simple. I imagine at this point in the comments, I've probably been ridiculed for enjoying the Mini 14, but the message is simple. How many ARs do you really need, right? It's like check the essentials boxes in your collection so you can just have some fun for the sake of having some fun. I'm not gonna come here and tell you that a Mini 14 is gonna change your life and it's gonna take over the world and be the next SOCOM contract gun. I would actually have some questions if SOCOM adopted that, although very curious at the same time. But the Mini 14, it does have this mechanical nature to it. Is it perfect? No. It was designed in the 70s, and let it be that. Let it be what it is. I'm just saying, hey, the gun provokes a certain emotion when you see it, and there's something cool about that. Whether you love it or you hate it, it does bring up a certain emotion for you. So just give it a shot. It's been real. We'll see you guys next week.